Do you ever feel like life keeps slipping away the moment you try harder to grab it? Like the more you want success, the more it runs. Like the more you desire someone, the faster they fade. Strange, right? Almost unfair, but real. And today, I'm going to show you something wild, something most men never learn, something nobody teaches you growing up, a truth that flips your whole world. Success doesn't come to the man who chases. It comes to the man who holds his center, holds his calm, holds his energy, holds himself. But wait, here's the big question that burns inside your chest right now. Why does chasing make everything run from you? Why does giving too much push people away? Why does caring too hard destroy attraction? Why does trying make life feel heavy? Why does desire, when uncontrolled, make you lose power, confidence, and even respect? And maybe the real question, why do the men who don't chase seem to get everything anyway? Better relationships, better careers, better respect, better peace. It's almost like they know something, like there's a secret rule book, a different way, a better system, a Stoic way. And inside that way, there are 10 rules that flip the whole game of life. Rules that turn your energy from desperate to magnetic. Rules that turn you from seeker to attractor. Rules that stop you from begging for attention and make attention come to you. By the end of this video, you won't just understand these rules, you'll feel them in your bones, and you will realize you had the power the whole time, you just never used it. Let's start with something most men refuse to accept. Life bends to the man who isn't afraid to step away from anything he wants, not because he's cold, not because he's heartless, not because he's playing games, but because he knows something deeper. Wanting something too much makes you weak. You ever notice this? You text fast, she texts slow. You give more, she gives less. You say, "I'm always here," she says, "Cool." You chase, she drifts, and you sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? I was nice, I was giving, I was loyal. Yes, you were, but you forgot the rule that runs everything in attractions, success and life. Nothing values what is always available. Not women, not opportunities, not respect, not success, not life. Things grow when there is space. Curiosity comes from mystery. Attraction comes from scarcity. Power comes from control, and peace comes from detachment. But listen, detachment isn't cold, it isn't rude, it isn't killing emotion, it isn't pretending not to care. Detachment means, I will not let desire control my mind. That's it. And here's the truth so many men run from. You lose your power the moment you try to force anything, because when you force, you show fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. But the Stoic man, he moves different. He creates space without trying to prove anything. He lives his life so fully that natural silence appears. He's not avoiding people, he's not ghosting, he's not playing games, he's simply busy being a man with purpose. And guess what happens? People feel his absence, his energy becomes rare, his attention becomes valuable, his presence becomes strong, his calmness becomes magnetic. And that's why this video is important. Rules that show you how to build an aura so strong. Women respect you, opportunities follow you, success comes to you, peace fills you, and your desire stops controlling you. You don't chase life, life chases you. What if the real reason success runs away from you is because you keep running toward everything else? What if life isn't asking you to try harder, but to stop chasing what was never meant to be chased? What if success, people, respect, all of it, is actually waiting for you to slow down enough to be found? Because here's the strange thing, some men push, some men pull, but the rare man, the man who almost glows, he just stands still, calm, steady, grounded, and somehow the world moves toward him. But you probably felt the opposite, and maybe you wonder things like, why does giving too much push people away? Why does being nice make people treat you worse? Why do you feel tired even after doing everything right? Why does chasing anything, love, goals, approval, make it run faster? Why does your value seem to drop the moment you care too much? Why do people act blind to your efforts until you're busy with your own life? Why does trying to prove your worth make you feel smaller? These questions, they twist your mind, they make you doubt yourself, they make you wonder if something is wrong with you. But the truth, nothing is wrong with you. Something is wrong with the strategy you were taught, because no one told you the hidden rule. You can give everything you have and still lose everything you want. And that's where Stoic power steps in like a light in a dark room. Not cold, not distant, just calm, focused, strong in the places where others break. On this page, we're going deep into one idea. Your energy is the magnet. Your presence is the value. Your absence is the teacher. Let me show you. Imagine a river, quiet, slow, but powerful. It doesn't chase fish. It doesn't beg leaves to land on it. It doesn't force anything. Things come to it because of the flow it already has. Now imagine a boy. He wants fish so badly, he jumps into the water, splashing everywhere, scaring them all away. That boy is most men today. Too loud, too eager, too hungry, no flow, no peace, no center. A man becomes attractive, respected, wanted, not when he splashes, but when he flows. But here's the real problem that no one talks about. You lost your flow because you became too available to the world, too available to people, too available to feelings, too available to distractions, too available to noise. And when a man becomes everywhere, he becomes nowhere. When he tries to be everything, he becomes nothing. This is the trap. Let me give you something powerful here, something men don't hear enough. Your presence has an economy, and right now, you're spending everything on the wrong things. There are 3 forms of presence in a man's life. 1. Mental presence, your attention. But the world steals it with notifications, drama, overthinking. 2. Emotional presence, your peace, but the world steals it with stress, urgency, and fear. 3. Physical presence, your time, but the world steals it with people who take but never give back. When your presence is everywhere, your value becomes nowhere, but when you take it back, calmly, not angrily, you become strong in a way people feel. And here's the twist. This isn't about pulling back. It's not a tactic. It's not a game. It's simply the natural result of a man who finally returns to his own life. This is where power begins. This is where attraction begins. This is where success begins, not with noise, but with center. In this video, step by step, you will learn how detachment is not distance, but strength, how absence is not punishment, but clarity, how emotional calm is not coldness, but control, how a man with purpose isn't harder to get, but harder to lose. You're about to see how the world responds when a man finally makes himself the priority again, not out of ego, but out of truth. This page is the doorway. The next one, that's where the transformation starts. What if the world doesn't test your strength but tests your silence? What if people don't watch your actions first but your reactions? What if success follows the man who can stay calm in places where other men fall apart? Strange idea, right? But think about how many moments in your life were ruined not by what happened, but by how you felt about what happened. And it makes you wonder, why do small things shake you more than big things? Why do people's opinions hit harder than they should? Why does your mind overthink even when nothing's wrong? Why do emotions explode at the worst times and stay quiet when you actually want to feel something? Why do you lose your center the moment someone pulls away? Why does one message, one delay, one shift change your whole mood? Why does caring feel heavy and staying calm feel impossible? These problems are silent, but they shape your whole life. They shape your relationships, your success, your attraction, your peace. And here's the truth nobody told you. The world isn't hard. It's your lack of emotional mastery that makes it feel hard. A man becomes weak not from fear, but from letting fear lead. A man becomes stressed not from pressure, but from giving pressure control. A man becomes unattractive, not from caring, but from caring without balance. The real problem: you never built an inner base. Most men build everything outside of themselves: their job, their looks, their status, their style, their social life. But the one thing they forget to build is the thing Stoics valued the most: the inner base, a quiet place inside you where nothing shakes, nothing rushes, nothing panics. Let me paint this simply. Imagine your mind is like a tall building, but the foundation is thin. Every small wind makes it wobble. Every small noise makes it shake. Every small change makes it break. This is why things feel worse than they actually are. This is why peace feels so far. This is why your reactions cost you everything. You don't need a new life. You need a stronger inner base. There was a man who tried to impress a woman with gifts. He tried to impress his friends with money. He tried to impress the world with confidence. But inside, he was loud, messy, shaky. One day he met another man, silent, calm, moving slow, talking slow, breathing slow. Nothing bothered him. People listened when he spoke. Women respected his space. Success followed him gently. The first man got frustrated and asked, "What's your secret? What do you do?" The calm man smiled and said, "I don't do more, I feel less. And that lets me think more clearly." That's emotional mastery, not removing emotions, not faking coldness, just knowing how to carry your emotions without letting them crush you. Now here's a fresh idea you've never heard. Every man carries an emotional gravity. Weak gravity pulls him toward people. Strong gravity pulls people toward him. Let me explain in simple words. When your emotions are unstable, you chase comfort, you chase reassurance, you chase attention, you chase connection. You chase anything that stops the noise inside, weak gravity. But when your emotions are steady, you don't chase anything, you don't need to. Your energy feels safe, your presence feels strong. Your silence feels meaningful. Strong gravity. Women feel it. Success feels it. Life itself feels it. People naturally move closer to what feels still and grounded. And guess what? Calmness is not a personality type. Calmness is a skill you can build, a skill trained by stillness, not by noise, a skill built by control, not suppression. The Stoic solution. So what's the real solution you're learning today? Emotional mastery makes you rare. Rarity makes you valuable. Value makes you attractive. Attraction makes life easier. And a calm man attracts everything others chase. But remember, we're not talking about being emotionless. We're talking about being unshakable. You can still feel, you should feel, but you don't break. That's the upgrade. And this video lays the foundation for the next one, where we go deeper into a level of detachment that builds power without distance and peace without effort. What if the reason you feel powerless is because you're giving power to things that don't even deserve it? What if the real trap isn't heartbreak, but how fast you attach yourself to people who haven't earned that spot in your life? And what if the biggest mistake men make today is giving too much access to people who bring too little value? Sounds uncomfortable, but it hits, right? Now the questions begin. Why do you let someone's opinion ruin your whole mood? Why do you care so much about messages, replies, signals? Why does one small change in someone's behavior make you doubt your worth? Why do you trust people too fast, even when they haven't proved they can hold that trust? Why do you open your world so quickly that people don't feel the need to open theirs? Why do you hand out your time, energy, and attention like they are free items in a store? Why do you let people expect more from you when they don't give enough to you? Why do you fear losing someone who isn't even showing effort to keep you? These are the problems nobody teaches men to fix. These mistakes drain your strength and make your aura feel weak. So today, we go deeper. Different from all other pages, we're unlocking something bigger, the value of access, something almost nobody understands until life forces them to learn it the hard way. The problem: you give access too quickly. Let's make this simple. People don't value what they get too easily. They don't respect what comes without effort, and they don't appreciate the man who lets everyone enter his world without filters, boundaries, or standards. Here's the truth. You are not supposed to be easy to reach. You are not supposed to be available on demand. You are not supposed to respond instantly. Drop everything instantly, or give your time instantly. Because your time is your life, and when you hand out your time too easily, you're telling people that your life is cheap, harsh, but real. And here's the hidden issue most men never see. When people get too much access to you too soon, they don't feel curiosity, they don't feel excitement, they don't feel hunger, they feel entitlement. They think you're supposed to be there all the time, no matter what. That right there, that kills attraction, that destroys respect, that weakens your aura. Think of your life like a theme park. Every ride has a price. Every section needs a ticket. Some areas are VIP, some spaces say staff only. Not everyone can enter everywhere. But your life right now, you're letting everyone walk in through the side door, for free. And if everything is free, nothing feels special. Stoics understood this. That's why they protected their time like a rare treasure. They didn't push people away. They didn't act cold. They didn't play games. They just respected their own value. So the world did too. And here's the twist. When access has price, your presence has power. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because your life is full, because your time actually matters, because your mind is busy building something real. That's what creates attraction. That's what creates respect. That's what creates influence. A man once told me, "I don't know why people leave. I give them everything." That was the problem. He gave everything before they earned anything. He gave effort without direction. He gave time without boundaries. He gave attention without purpose. People walked in, used the place, left the lights on, left the door open, and walked out like nothing happened. He wasn't weak. He was just too open. A Stoic mentor told him, "Your heart is a home, not a hotel." And that line changed him. He didn't shut the door. He didn't become cold. He didn't stop caring. He simply made access earned, not free. And suddenly, people tried harder. People respected him more. People stayed longer because they valued the space he offered. That's the power you're learning on this video. The Stoic Revolution. Here's the value you walk away with. When access to you is earned, you don't need to chase. People show effort. People feel curiosity. People invest more. Why? Because effort creates attachment. And when others invest in you, they value you more. This is not manipulation. This is balance, healthy boundaries, real self-respect. This is how men protect their peace without losing connection. This is how attraction grows without playing games. And this shift in how you give access will change every relationship in your life. What if the real reason your life feels heavy is because you carry weight that doesn't even belong to you? What if the stress you feel isn't coming from your life, but from trying to control things you never had control over? And what if the fastest way to become powerful is to simply stop fighting battles that were never your responsibility in the first place? Feels strange, right? Almost too simple, but it's real. Let's open the loop. Why do you panic when someone's mood shifts? Why do you feel responsible for fixing problems that someone else created? Why do you take blame for things that aren't even in your hands? Why do you let people's emotions push your whole day left or right? Why do you force conversations just to keep the peace, even when the peace isn't yours to protect? Why do you chase answers from people who give you silence? Why do you try to prove your worth to someone who hasn't proved theirs? Why do you work harder in the relationship than the person you're trying to impress? These are the hidden problems that break men silently. You won't notice it at first, but slowly your self-respect goes missing. Your aura weakens, your energy drains, your confidence falls, and you don't even know why. Something brand new, something that hits different, the Stoic rule of internal territory. Most men live in everyone else's territory. Everyone's moods, everyone's approval, everyone's expectations, everyone's reactions, and that's why they feel lost. Stoics lived in their own, and that's why they felt powerful. Let me explain it simply. Your internal territory is everything you control: your mind, your reactions, your energy, your focus, your choices, your habits, your character. Your external territory is everything you don't control: their feelings, their decisions, their attention, their effort, their replies, their moods, their interest, their loyalty. But here's the painful truth: most men live in the external, not the internal, so they lose peace every single day. Control drain. Imagine your mind is like a battery. It has 100% power, but you spend 80% of it trying to control things you don't control. You give energy to, what does she think? Why didn't she say this? Why isn't she doing that? What did that message mean? Does she still like me? Why is she distant? You drain your battery on things outside your territory. Then you wonder why you feel weak, why you feel empty, why you feel like you're always chasing. It's because your power is being poured into leaks. Stoicism closes those leaks. There was a guy, solid dude, good heart, but always tired, always stressed, always worried about someone else's mood. One day his mentor told him, "You look exhausted. What happened?" He said, "I feel like I'm fighting everything at once." The mentor shook his head and said something that changed him forever. "You're not fighting everything. You're fighting things that don't belong to you." That hit him like a truck. He realized he was trying to fix people who didn't fix themselves, heal people who didn't want healing, prove his worth to someone who didn't even know their own, carry emotions that weren't his, and chase peace in places where peace didn't exist. So he stopped. Not in a cold or selfish way, just in a wise way. He learned the Stoic rule: if it's outside your control, it's outside your stress. And slowly, his life changed. His aura returned. His confidence rose. His energy came back. People respected him more. Even the woman he liked felt more drawn to him, because he wasn't controlled by everything around him. That's the value of internal territory. When you stop fighting for control over things you don't control, you become calmer, clearer, more grounded, more attractive, more stable, more confident, more peaceful. Not because you're acting tough, but because you learned what every great man learns: my power belongs where my hands are. You stop chasing reassurance. You stop trying to fix everything. You stop overthinking reactions. You stop forcing connection. You stop begging for clarity. You stop needing validation. Instead, you invest that energy back into yourself. Your purpose, your body, your mission, your goals, your craft, your inner world, and then something amazing happens. People feel your peace. People sense your stability. People notice your direction. People follow your energy because it feels safe, strong, and rare. You're not lost in their world. You're leading your own, and that is the power you keep for life. What if the thing that makes you weak is the exact thing you think makes you strong? What if the effort you're giving is actually the reason you feel invisible? What if the more you try, the less people respect you? I know that sounds crazy, but wait, let me ask you something real, and don't lie to yourself. Why do you feel the need to explain yourself all the time? Why do you rush to give someone answers, even when they don't ask? Why do you overtalk when silence would have protected your power? Why do you think effort means doing more, even when doing less makes you stronger? Why do you feel guilty for not giving people more access to you? Why does it feel scary to just let people wonder for once? Why do you tell your whole story to someone who didn't even earn a chapter? Why do you fill every space with words, apologies, explanations, checking in, proving? These are the hidden problems. These are the traps. These are the mistakes that drain a man's presence without him realizing it. The Stoic rule of quiet power. You know what most men don't understand? Silence is not weakness, it's not distance, it's not mind games, it's not attitude. Silence is self-control, silence is discipline, silence is focus, silence is value management, silence is unshakable confidence without saying a single word. Let me explain it like I'm talking to a 10-year-old. When you talk too much, you give away your power. But when you speak only when needed, your words become gold. People listen differently. People feel something. People lean in. People become curious. This is not manipulation. This is presence. The pressure of mystery. When you don't reveal everything, something magical happens. People start imagining. People start thinking about you. People start wondering what you're doing. People start leaning in. People start valuing your space. Humans don't chase noise, they chase mystery. But here's the twist. Mystery doesn't mean acting fake. It means you don't overshare. You don't explain your every move. You don't justify your decisions. You don't announce all your plans. You don't force connection with words. You let your life speak. You let your actions speak. You let your silence do the heavy lifting. This creates pressure, a good pressure, a magnetic pressure, a pressure that makes people feel something just from your presence. This is a Stoic form of power almost no modern man uses. There was a guy who talked too much. Every feeling he had, he shared it. Every thought, he said it out loud. Every moment of stress, he explained it. Every time someone asked, "Are you okay?" he dumped his whole heart on the table. He didn't see the problem. He thought this was honesty. He thought this was connection. He thought people liked it. But the truth? People felt overwhelmed. They didn't feel his strength. They didn't feel his presence. They didn't feel his stability. One day a Stoic mentor told him, "You tell your emotions everything. That's why they control you. Damn." That sentence changed him. He learned to hold silence. He learned to breathe before speaking. He learned to think before reacting. He learned to sit with his emotions instead of letting them explode out of him. He became calmer. He became stronger. He became more focused. People started respecting him, even fearing him a little, because now his energy had weight. Women felt something different, a grounded man who didn't chase with words but pulled with presence. That is the difference. Less explanation, more execution. This page teaches you something huge. When you stop explaining yourself, your respect grows. When you stop oversharing, your worth rises. When you stop filling every silence, your presence becomes powerful. Because here's the truth. A man who doesn't rush to speak feels dangerous, not in a bad way, but in a disciplined, focused, masculine way that is impossible to ignore. Why? Because silence says, "I don't need you to understand me. I understand myself." That's confidence. That's aura. That's scarcity. That's emotional mastery. That's composure. And people respond to this energy instantly, naturally, without you trying. You shift from seeking approval to carrying presence. And when you carry presence, success chases you, women chase you, opportunities chase you, respect follows you everywhere. The level most men never reach. What if the real reason she doesn't treat you like a priority is because you've accidentally made yourself emotionally too available? What if the thing you think makes you a good man is actually the thing that makes you forgettable in her mind? And what if the strongest form of attraction isn't built by chasing, proving, or pleasing, but by mastering a level of emotional distance that only the most self-controlled men ever access? Now think about this for a second. Why do women suddenly pull back the moment you express too much interest, even if your intentions are pure? Why do men who are more emotionally contained seem to naturally create more excitement, mystery, and tension without even trying? Why does your honesty, vulnerability, and affection sometimes feel like it backfires instead of drawing her closer? Why do you feel like the more you open up, the more she closes down? And why does she become more eager, more invested, more attentive, the moment you stop over-expressing yourself? These questions are not random, they point to one core truth. Attraction thrives on emotional polarity, not emotional exposure. Let's dive deep into this. The real value, why emotional distance creates attraction. You've probably been taught that good communication, expressing feelings and being open automatically make relationships better. But attraction is not communication. Attraction is psychological voltage. Too much emotional expression kills the voltage. Too little kills the connection. Only a rare kind of man learns how to balance both. Here's the value you need to understand. 1. Emotional distance makes your energy more valuable. When you don't react instantly, when you don't over-explain, when you don't pour out every feeling, your presence becomes scarce. Scarcity creates value. Value creates demand. Your emotional energy becomes something she must earn, not something she can assume. 2. Emotional distance creates space for her imagination. A woman's imagination is far more powerful than anything you can say. When you express everything, she has nothing left to imagine. But when you express only what is necessary, when you maintain a calm, composed emotional frame, she begins filling in the blanks. Is he thinking about me? Does he miss me? What is going on in his mind? That curiosity turns into emotional investment. 3. Emotional distance protects your masculine frame. Weak men overshare. Strong men reveal selectively. A man who doesn't spill his emotions on impulse sends a silent message. I control myself. I control my energy. I control my world. This is masculine stability, and women crave it more than charm, looks, or money. Your restraint is attractive not because you're cold, but because it shows strength. 4. Emotional distance helps you see reality clearly. When you're not emotionally tangled in her reactions, you can finally see who she really is, how she truly behaves, whether she respects you, whether she reciprocates, whether she values your presence. Distance reveals truth. It clears the fog created by desire, fantasy, and attachment. It gives you clarity, which is the strongest masculine power you can have. The emotional distance forces her to step forward. Every step you take toward her pushes her one step back. Every step you take away pulls her closer, if she's genuinely interested. When you stop giving emotional comfort on demand, when you stop being the man who is always there, when you stop over-explaining and over-expressing, she feels the gap, and psychologically humans move to fill gaps. That's why distance creates pursuit, not because you're playing games, but because you're breaking the pattern that made you predictable. Predictability kills desire. Distance brings it back. The value that ties it all together. Here is the real secret. A man with emotional distance isn't detached from feelings. He is detached from needing validation. That is why he's attractive. That is why he's magnetic. That is why she feels a pull toward him she can't explain. Your emotional distance isn't coldness, it's self-possession. And when you possess yourself, others naturally become drawn to you. The silent advantage. Why the man who waits wins. What if the real power in attraction isn't in what you say, what you text, or how you act, but in how long you're willing to wait without losing your inner balance? What if the strongest men, the men women remember, chase and obsess over, aren't the ones who move fastest, but the ones who move last, with calm precision? And what if the entire game changes the moment you stop rushing for her reactions and start letting silence work for you instead? Let's crack open this hidden layer of attraction most men never discover. Why do women pull away when you respond too quickly, but suddenly come closer when you slow down? Why does she lose interest the moment you try to fix things instantly, but become more engaged when you give her time to miss you? Why do fast texting, fast emotion, fast reaction men struggle while calm, slow, measured men seem to hold a mysterious advantage? Why do men feel anxious in silence, but women often become more emotionally invested because of it? Why does giving her immediate attention make you predictable, but making her wait without being rude makes you desirable. These questions point to a truth that is uncomfortable for most men, but powerful when mastered. The man who controls the pace controls the attraction. Learning the power of pace, patience, and timing. Not distance, not absence, not detachment, but timing, the strategy few men ever master. Let's break it down. 1. Waiting signals. Emotional strength, not weakness. When you don't react instantly, when you don't rush, when you don't jump at the first sign of attention, you communicate something silently. I'm in control of myself, not controlled by you. That message is powerful. Women don't consciously think it, but they feel it, because patience is not passive. Patience is dominance disguised as calmness. It shows you're not driven by fear. You're not driven by insecurity. You're not driven by emotional impulsiveness. You move when you decide, not when your anxiety demands, not when your desire pressures you, not when her behavior tempts you. This is masculine pacing. It creates respect and desire at the same time. 2. Waiting creates psychological tension, which builds attraction. Humans crave what feels slightly out of reach. This is true in business, friendships, and especially relationships. When you wait, a gap forms, a tension rises, a curiosity grows. Women do not chase certainty, they chase potential. And potential is strongest when she feels, he's into me, but he's not rushing. He likes me, but he's not easy. He's interested, but he isn't seeking approval. Your pace becomes the tension she leans into. A fast reaction usually comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of silence, fear of being forgotten, fear of missing your chance. But a delayed reaction comes from clarity. It shows you think before you act. It shows you respond, not react. It shows you operate out of choice, not impulse. Women trust thoughtful men. Women respect thoughtful men. Women stay drawn to thoughtful men. Patience communicates intelligence. Pacing communicates maturity. 4. Waiting exposes her level of interest without you lifting a finger. When you wait, something surprising happens. Her behavior reveals everything. Does she double text? Does she check on you? Does she initiate more? Does she send something to reopen the conversation? Does she show signs of missing your presence? Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects her exact level of investment, without manipulation, without games, without pressure. This is pure value because it saves you from guessing, overthinking, or forcing anything. 5. Waiting protects you from emotional overcommitment. Most men give too much, too early, too fast. Waiting forces you to slow down your emotional speed so you don't fall too hard, attach too quickly, expose too much, invest too deeply, lose your balance. Pacing protects your heart and your power at the same time. You stay grounded, you stay aware, you stay in control of your narrative. This makes you a man she respects, not a man she runs over. The man who knows how to wait becomes the man she chases, not because he's playing games, but because his patience creates stability. She feels safe. Mystery, she wants to understand him. Tension, she wants more. Respect, she sees his strength. Pacing is not about delay, it's about leadership, and leadership in attraction begins with controlling the tempo. Why women feel you more when they don't see you trying? What if the strongest kind of attraction isn't built by what you show, but by what you don't show? What if the real magnetism comes from the energy you hold back, the effort you don't overgive, the approval you don't chase, and the way you move with a quiet, almost invisible kind of power? A power she can feel, but can never fully explain. What if the reason she loses interest is because you showed too much, and the reason she becomes curious again is because you suddenly stop trying to be visible? Let's go deeper into the part of attraction nobody teaches men. Why do women lose interest the moment a man starts trying too hard, even if he's kind and genuine? Why does showing too much intention early on make her feel pressure, but showing quiet, natural energy makes her feel comfort and curiosity? Why do men feel they need to express everything clearly, while women feel more attracted when a man is naturally mysterious? Why does obvious effort push her away, while subtle presence pulls her closer? Why does trying to be noticed make you invisible, but not trying makes you unforgettable? All these questions point to a truth almost nobody tells young men. A man becomes attractive when his power is felt, not forced. Understanding how invisible behavior, subtle energy, and effortless presence create natural attraction without manipulation. Let's break it down. Why quiet power is more attractive than loud effort? Most men think attraction works like volume. If I increase my attention, if I increase my compliments, if I increase my messages, she'll notice me. No, women don't respond to volume, they respond to vibe. And vibe comes from calm body language, slow movement, a centered tone, relaxed eyes, grounded energy, natural silence. You don't need to say everything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to perform, because men with invisible power don't chase attention. They control their presence, and that is rare. Tui. When you stop forcing presence, your value becomes clearer. Women have a strong instinct. They can feel when a man is trying to be liked. It doesn't feel attractive to them. It feels heavy. But when your presence is natural and not forced, it creates comfort, space, curiosity, mystery, respect. You stop looking like someone who wants approval. You start looking like someone who lives in his own world. A man with his own world is always more attractive than a man whose world revolves around her. 3. Invisible power creates emotional safety. It may sound strange, but here's the truth. When you're not trying to be chosen, you suddenly feel more trustworthy. A woman feels safe around a man who doesn't react emotionally, doesn't beg for attention, doesn't explode over small things, doesn't need constant validation, because emotional safety isn't about being soft or passive, it's about being stable. Invisible power is quiet stability, and stability is rare. Rare feels safe, safe feels attractive. When you don't rush, when you don't overshow, when you don't push the connection forward, she starts moving toward you. You make space. She steps inside it. You don't demand attention. She gives it naturally. You don't prove value. She starts noticing your value on her own. This is one of the strongest forms of attraction because she feels, I choose him, I want him, I'm drawn to him. You didn't force her. She invested by herself. That creates long-term emotional connection. 5. Invisible power makes you more scarce without trying. Scarcity is not about disappearing. It's not about avoiding her. It's not about acting distant. Scarcity is simply you not giving more energy than needed. Invisible power creates natural scarcity because you speak less, you overgive less, you explain less, you reassure less, you rush less, you need less. You're not absent, you're just selective. You're there, but not everywhere. This is the kind of scarcity women feel emotionally. It increases your value instantly. A man becomes truly attractive when he leads with quiet confidence, not loud effort. When his presence feels strong, even when he isn't trying to show it. When his energy is calm, even when the moment feels uncertain. When his actions are natural, not desperate. When he moves slow, not scared. Invisible power is real masculine power. It's ancient, it's primal, it's deeply magnetic. And when you master it, women don't walk away, they lean in. The final rule: when you become the prize, life stops running from you and starts running toward you. Let me ask you something that might shake you for a second. What if everything you ever chased, everything you stressed about, everything you tried to win, was supposed to come to you only after you stopped trying so hard? What if success, women, peace, respect, confidence, All of it was waiting for you to stop fighting for attention and start fighting for yourself. Because here's the twist. Most men never understand until it's too late. You don't chase the life you want. You become the man that life chases. And this is where everything changes. Why do some men get everything they want while barely trying, while others do 10x more and still get ignored? Why do certain men seem naturally respected, admired, wanted, even if they don't speak much or even try to impress? Why do women fall harder for men who live with purpose, instead of worrying about pleasing them? Why is a man with direction more attractive than a man with perfect looks? And why does life open doors for the man who walks slow but sure, instead of the man who runs confused? These questions all point to the final Stoic rule, the rule that completes everything we built in the last 9 pages, the rule that ties purpose, self-worth, absence, emotional mastery, scarcity, presence, confidence, and invisible power into one final truth. Become the man who doesn't need anything, and everything will want you. Let's break this fully open. 1. When you don't need attention, you gain influence. Most men collapse because they're addicted to reactions. Did she text back? Does she still like me? Did they notice me? Did I say the right thing? But here's the secret. People trust the man who is calm without validation. Why? Because his emotions don't depend on outside noise. His confidence is self-charged. His mind is self-controlled. This is influence. This is authority. This is masculine gravity, and gravity pulls everything toward it. 2. When you don't need approval, you become magnetic. A man who wants approval becomes soft. A man who wants to be liked becomes predictable. A man who tries to impress becomes forgettable. But a man who sets his own standards, who approves himself, who doesn't beg for acceptance, that man becomes magnetic without effort. Because women, people, even the world itself can feel the difference between a man who stands alone and a man who needs to be held up. One attracts, one repels. 3. When you don't need a person, they want to be part of your world. This is not coldness. This is not manipulation. This is not playing games. This is clarity. The moment you place someone above your purpose, you lose both. But when your purpose comes first, when you're building something real, your absence becomes meaningful, not hurtful. Your space becomes valuable. Your energy becomes selective. Your life becomes attractive. People want to be part of a life that is already moving, not a life that is waiting. 4. When you don't need control, you project strength. A Stoic man doesn't force outcomes. He shapes himself. He doesn't demand loyalty. He deserves it. He doesn't beg for love. He inspires it. He doesn't chase certainty. He creates it by staying grounded. This is why you don't have to push anything. Calmness is control. Silence is strength. Patience is power. When you don't need to control the situation, you show you can control yourself, and that is rare, and rare is respected. 5. When you don't need to prove your worth, you become the prize. The final transformation is internal. You stop trying to impress. You stop trying to perform. You stop trying to chase. Instead, you sharpen your mind. You build your skills. You rise in your purpose. You protect your peace. You grow your confidence from competence. You become the man whose aura walks into a room before he does. The man who doesn't need attention to have impact. The man who doesn't need noise to create presence. And when you reach this level, women don't leave, opportunities don't slip away. Life doesn't run from you. Everything naturally comes toward your energy. So here's the truth you came for. You don't attract a better life by chasing it. You attract it by becoming the version of yourself who doesn't need to chase at all. Every page of this script gave you the pieces. Detachment taught you freedom. Absence taught you value. Purpose taught you direction. Scarcity taught you worth. Emotional mastery taught you stability. Calm presence taught you leadership. Confidence taught you power. Invisible energy taught you influence. Self-respect taught you how to carry yourself. And now, the final rule ties everything together. Become the man who doesn't need anything, And life, women, respect, success, they all come searching for you. Not because you played games, not because you acted cold, not because you tried tricks, but because you built yourself into a man who moves with quiet strength, calm purpose, and unwavering self-worth. That is the solution. That is the transformation. That is the life-changing shift you came here to learn, and now you have it.